What if you looked out the train window in the dead of night, only to realize the reflection staring back wasn't yours, but that of someone else? What if the train you boarded was never meant to stop, but was dragging you back into the dark corners of a past you desperately tried to bury? Are you truly alone in this car, or is there someone sitting right behind you, their cold breath brushing your neck while their body remains invisible? For 24-year-old Emily Carter, the journey across the dense black woods of central Pennsylvania started as just another grueling long-distance commute. Emily, brave by nature but carrying a deeply emotional, guarded heart, sat by the window of seat 42, watching the late afternoon sun bleed into the horizon. During the day, the train car felt perfectly ordinary. The mundane symphony of clinking coffee cups, the rustle of newspapers, and the low hum of cross-country travelers filled the air. People got off at Harrisburg, others boarded. Emily put on her headphones, losing herself in the pages of a paperback novel. But as the sun dipped below the Appalachian ridges, the sky bruised into a deep, bleeding crimson before plunging into total, suffocating darkness. The outside world vanished, replaced by the endless skeletal silhouettes of towering pines rushing past like a silent army. By 9 p.m., the atmosphere inside Coach 4 shifted drastically. One by one, the remaining passengers had disembarked at their respective rural stops, leaving Emily entirely alone in the long vintage car. The flickering, pale yellow overhead lights cast long, distorted shadows down the aisle, amplifying her growing exhaustion. Then the air grew unnaturally cold. Emily shivered, pulling the zipper of her denim jacket tight against her throat. Suddenly, right across the aisle, where the seats had been empty just seconds prior, sat an elderly man. He wore an outdated, heavy wool overcoat from a bygone era, his eyes sunken deep into skeletal sockets. Emily gasped, her heart leaping. How had he gotten there? She hadn't heard a single footstep. The old man slowly raised a trembling, pale finger toward her, in a raspy, hollow whisper that seemed to echo inside her head. He spoke. "When this train stops at the station with no name, do not look out the window. And whatever you do, do not leave your seat. They will call for you, Emily." Emily's breath hitched. "How do you know my name? Who are you?" she demanded, her voice shaking. But as the train jolted violently over a rough patch of track and Emily blinked, the man was gone. The seat was entirely empty, the fabric undisturbed, as if no one had ever been there. Swallowing the lump of panic in her throat, Emily tried to reason with herself. She was tough. It was just sleep deprivation, a trick of the mind. But then, the train began to slow down. The agonizing screech of metal grinding against metal echoed through the floorboards. Emily peered through the glass. Outside, a thick, unnatural fog swallowed the woods. But cutting through the haze was a dilapidated, forgotten railway platform. The wooden station sign was rusted and completely blank. No name, no location. The place was desolate, save for the old, buzzing halogen lights that flickered erratically on the platform. The train ground to a complete halt, and the engine's rumble died instantly, plunging the world into a deafening, absolute silence. Suddenly, the train's PA system crackled to life, static buzzing fiercely before a heavy, distorted voice boomed through the empty car. "Next station, final station. Emily Carter, welcome home." Hearing her own name broadcasted into the dead night shattered Emily's composure. Panic surged. Deciding she needed to find the conductor or the brakeman, she bolted from her seat. But the moment her boots hit the aisle, she heard it. Heavy, rhythmic footsteps echoing right behind her. Thud, thud, thud. She whipped around. Nothing. Just the overhead lights systematically snapping off one by one, chasing her down the corridor as darkness consumed the car. She lunged through the heavy iron door into Coach 3, only to freeze in horror. The car was an exact replica of the one she had just left. right down to her abandoned book sitting on seat 42. She wasn't moving forward. She was trapped in a loop. Suddenly, pale, deformed hands began slamming against the outside of the windows, leaving streaks of condensation on the glass. As the fog smeared against the panes, words began to form in the frost, written from the outside, "Come with us." Falling to her knees in the aisle, Emily squeezed her eyes shut. The psychological weight of the isolation was crushing her. Time itself seemed to fracture. She glanced at her watch, watching the hands spin violently backward from 9:30 to 3 a.m. before stopping entirely. Then, cutting through her terror, a sound drifted in from the foggy platform outside. It was a weeping woman's voice, a voice she knew better than her own. It was her mother. Years ago, her mother had died in a horrific car crash deep in these very Pennsylvania woods. Emily had been in the passenger seat, surviving the wreck, but carrying a lifetime of crippling survivor's guilt. Through the window, shrouded in the shifting fog of the unnamed station, stood the blurry figure of her mother, arms outstretched. "Emily, baby, come outside," the voice cried, laced with agony. "It's so cold out here. Help me." Emily's emotional armor cracked. Her legs moved on their own, drawn by a desperate, grief-stricken instinct to fix the past. She reached the exit door, her hand gripping the heavy metal latch. She began to push it open, the freezing mountain air rushing into her face. But just as her foot hovered over the steps, the old man's warning flared in her mind. "They will call for you. Do not leave your seat." Emily stopped. She looked closer at the figure in the fog. The entity had no shadow casting on the wooden platform, and beneath the veil of mist, its eyes weren't human. They were pitch-black, bottomless voids. The station wasn't a haven. It was a cosmic trap, a supernatural entity that fed on the grief and guilt of lost travelers, dragging them into an eternity of emptiness. "No," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the creature masquerading as her mother. "I couldn't save her then, but I won't let you destroy me now. It wasn't my fault." With a burst of adrenaline born from pure survival instinct, Emily slammed the heavy train door shut and threw the deadbolt. The illusion outside shattered. The entity's face contorted into a monstrous gaping maw of shadows, and a chorus of demonic shrieks tore through the night. Dozens of unseen forces began violently rocking the train car, trying to tip it off the tracks. The windows cracked under the pressure. Emily sprinted back to seat 42, curling into a ball and shouting over the deafening noise, choosing to face her deepest psychological demons rather than surrender to the dark. A blinding flash of light consumed the car as the windows blew inward, and Emily felt herself falling into a bottomless, silent abyss. When Emily opened her eyes, golden morning sunlight was pouring through the window, warming her face. The train was moving at a smooth, rapid pace. The comforting sounds of a normal morning, the clatter of a breakfast cart, the chatter of commuters, filled the train car. The conductor walked down the aisle, tipping his hat with a warm smile. "Tickets, please." Next stop, Philadelphia, Amtrak station. Emily let out a ragged, trembling breath, a massive wave of relief washing over her. She had survived. It was over. Reaching into her purse to grab her ticket, she pulled out her small, compact mirror to check her face. But as she opened it, the blood froze in her veins. Reflected in the glass, sitting directly in the seat behind her, was the old man, a sinister smile stretching across his hollow face. And when Emily looked down at her own wrist, burned into her skin in ash-gray text was a fresh, unyielding mark. We will see you tonight. The ride never ends. Up ahead, the train plunged into another dark mountain tunnel, and the daylight vanished once again.